on the chat. I was going to say, are you going to put it up on the screen? It's okay. I've got it here.
People.
Just taking a minute to download for some reason. Lincoln. 1 minute.
Shall I ask somebody to read while you're doing that?
That'll be 2 minutes.
Do you want me to read? No.
Yeah,
All right.
you can read next. Go on. Carry on reading, Mataji.
Yes, okay. Purport. Here is a description of some of the Supreme Lord's transcendental activities executed by his inconceivable potencies. The contradictions given here prove the inconceivable potencies of the Lord. He walks and he does not walk. Ordinarily, if someone can walk, it is illogical to say he cannot walk. But in reference to God, such a contradiction simply serves to indicate his inconceivable power. With our limited fund of knowledge, we cannot accommodate such contradictions, and therefore we conceive of the Lord in terms of our limited powers of understanding. For example, the impersonalist philosophers of the Mayavad school accept only the Lord's impersonal activities and reject his personal feature. But the members of the Bhagavat school, adopting the perfect conception of the Lord, accept his inconceivable potencies and thus understand that he is both personal and impersonal. The Bhagavats know that without inconceivable potencies, there can be no meaning to the word Supreme Lord.
Okay, so stop there. So yeah, last week, mantra 4, inconceivable potencies of the Lord. This week, 4 particular potencies, which we've just read. Yeah, so this knowledge is called revealed knowledge. That means that it's not dependent on our, philosophical ability or our intellect, but it's really dependent on our mood. What is the mood of the particular practitioner? If his mood is to actually want to understand the Supreme, then Krishna will give him the ability to do that. Everything will be revealed to the serious devotee. But if it's for some other reason, if it's mixed, we want gyan, we want to have some yogic ability, or we want some adoration for what we're doing, then these things inhibit a full understanding. It's only when we're really wanting to understand the absolute truth that it'll reveal according to our mentality. In Bhagavad Gita, it makes this point: as they surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. So this is why, a devotee is as introspective as a materialist is speculative. We're always analyzing, what is our particular reason for doing this. And usually there's some, anyway, personally speaking, there's some hidden motive which was, something we weren't really recognizing. But if we actually go deep, and in the situation, Krishna puts us into a situation where it comes out, we can see that it's actually, there's some personal motive. So then we have an opportunity to, refocus and, overcome that obstacle in our devotional service. So, yeah, Krishna is inconceivable. That's the nature of the absolute truth, which we'll hear about in due course. So we cannot understand the inconceivable, because by nature of the word inconceivable, it's inconceivable. So, but if it's actually revealed by a higher power, then it becomes conceivable. Okay, so we'll just read little snippets together, then everybody will get a read. So maybe Jai Krishna can read next.
No, sure, Database isn't working. It's not letting me view it.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
So, what about Jack? Is Jack available?
I'm trying to get through, but I can't get the voice working.
Okay, what about Caesar Takarani Machi and Don?
Jack, we can hear you.
You can hear me, but I can't see anything. I mean, sorry.
Right. We should not take it for granted that just because we cannot see God with our eyes, the Lord does not have a personal existence. Sri Isopanisad refutes this argument by warning us that the Lord is far away but very near also. The abode of the Lord is beyond the material sky, and we have no means to measure even this material sky. If the material sky extends so far, then what to speak of the spiritual sky, which is altogether beyond it? That the spiritual sky is situated far, far away from the material universe is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:6. But despite the Lord's being so far away, he can at once, within less than a second, descend before us with a speed swifter than the mind or the wind. He can also walk so swiftly that no one can surpass him. This has already been described in the previous verse.
Right. So Krishna's already there. That, you know, he's both inside everything and outside everything, as this mantra explains. I'd just like to go to the previous paragraph, actually. It mentioned Mayavadi. So we can just explain what a Mayavadi is. There's two classes of transcendentalists. One is a devotee or a theist, one who believes in God's personal existence. And then there's the impersonalist. He believes in the absolute truth, but he only has knowledge about the impersonal aspects, in other words, the energy of the Supreme Lord. And Ekadesha Sistatnagya Jotsta Vistaritnitata. This explains that just as a fire is situated in one place and it illuminates, for miles, that fire can illuminate. So it says the energies of the Supreme Lord, although situated in one place, they're also spread out throughout the entire creation. So although he's one, he's separated, his energies spread everywhere. So the impersonalists understand his energies. And then some impersonalists, they actually know about Krishna, but they prefer to remain in impersonal understanding. Like the Kumaras, they became inquisitive, they were impersonalists, and they approached Vaikuntha because they wanted to see the Lord Vishnu. So that's one class of impersonalists. And the other class, they don't know that there's anything beyond the impersonal conception. So therefore, they're in that situation. But then these Mayavadis, they're also an impersonalist, but they're an offender, because they may or may not know about the Supreme Lord. Usually they do, but they want to they're envious of the Lord, and therefore they create a philosophy which nullifies his existence. And they use Isopanisad to say, see, he walks, but he doesn't walk. In other words, he doesn't have legs, he doesn't have arms. They try to, slowly take away the personal existence of the Lord. And Maya means energy or illusion. It's got several meanings. Mayavadi means they think that when God appears in this world, it's just a person who's taking birth in the material energy like any other living entity. And therefore, it's called, just like we're in Maya, Mayavad, they call them Mayavadi philosophers. They don't believe in the transcendental body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this, I'll just repeat, this Isopanisad is particularly there to defeat the Mayavadis and the impersonalists, especially the Mayavadis. So if we carefully read through it, we get a good example and philosophical understanding of Krishna's position. Okay. So maybe is Sita Thakurani able to read? No? Yeah.
Yet, when the personality of Godhead comes before us, we neglect him. Such foolish negligence is condemned by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita 9:11, where he says that the foolish deride him, considering him a mortal being. He is not a mortal being, nor does he come before us with a body produced of material nature. There are many so-called scholars who contend that the Lord descends in a body made of matter, just like an ordinary living being. Not knowing his inconceivable power, such foolish men place the Lord on an equal level with ordinary men.
Well, that's just what we've said, Mayavad. Okay. Barbara Machidi, do you want to read?
Yeah. Because he is full of inconceivable potencies, God can accept our service through any sort of medium, and he can convert his different potencies according to his own will. Non-believers argue either that the Lord cannot incarnate himself at all, or that if he does, he descends in the form of material energy. These arguments are nullified if we accept the existence of the Lord's inconceivable potencies. Then we will understand that even if the Lord appears before us in the form of material energy, it is quite possible for him to convert this energy into spiritual energy. Since the source of the energies is one and the same, the energies can be utilized according to the will of the source. For example, the Lord can appear in the form of the I can't pronounce this word, sorry.
Vigraha. Archer Vigraha.
Yeah, a deity supposedly made of earth, stone, or wood. Deity forms, although engraved from wood, stone, or other matter, are not idols, as the iconoclasts contend.
Okay, Machidi, thank you. Yes, so his energy is one and it becomes many. Unlimited energies. One of them is this material energy, which is actually spiritual, but it's got a different function, that's all. And so therefore, because everything is Krishna's energy, this particular paragraph says that because he is full of inconceivable potencies, God can accept our service through any sort of medium, and he can convert his different potencies according to his will. So those mediums are this material energy. If we're actually under the subjugation of this material energy, we're actually serving Krishna. It's his energy. If we're, surrendering to the impersonal conception of God, we're still surrendering to Krishna because it's his energy, like that. So, an intelligent person, he will approach the source of that energy, and not just his in particular energies. This is the understanding in this verse. Okay. Tushar Prabhu, do you want to read the next part? If you've got any comments or questions, then if you look on the bottom of your screen, if you've got a full screen, you'll see that there's you can actually raise a hand. Yeah.
Thank you. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Maharaj, in our present state of imperfect material existence, we cannot see the Supreme Lord due to imperfect vision. Yet those devotees who want to see him by means of material vision are favored by the Lord, who appears in a so-called material form to accept his devotees' service. One should not think that such devotees who are in the lowest stage of devotional service are worshipping an idol. They are factually worshipping the Lord, who has agreed to appear before them in an approachable way. Nor is the archer form fashioned according to the whims of the worshipper. This form is eternally existent, with all paraphernalia. This can be actually felt by a sincere devotee not by an atheist. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Sorry, Maharaj, just going back a couple of verses. You mentioned the impersonalists, and obviously there were elements of the impersonalists which are the Mayavadis you mentioned. But would other impersonalists be like followers of the Abrahamic religions, like, you know, someone who's a Christian? Would they be impersonalist, or because?
Oh, no, they're personalists.
Okay.
I remember when I first took to spiritual, you know, I read Science of Self-Realization, and I started reading Prabhupada's books, and he was always mentioning the impersonalists, and I couldn't understand what he was really talking about. Because in the Abrahamic religion, there's, you know, there's God and there's his devotee.
Yeah.
Even though it's, you know, but there's no real mention of impersonalism. It's only when I started reading Prabhupada's books I could understand that there's a class of men like that. Yeah. So that the Abrahamic religion, there's always mention of a supreme Lord.
Though there's no personality for the Supreme Lord in those religions, is there? I mean, you know, obviously, like Jehovah and Allah, and or is that? I mean,
Yeah,
they don't.
Yeah, I don't know much about the Muslim religion, or the, as Prabhupada calls them, the Mohammedans. But you know, I know from the Christian faith is that they may not understand exactly what God looks like, but they accept he's a person. That's the thing. And nowadays, you know, that's becoming tainted by this impersonalist philosophy which has come from the East. Well, if you ask, is God a person? You'll ask a religious person, they'll think about it. They won't always say yes. They'll say, I don't know. So that's the influence of this impersonalist or Mayavad philosophy. It's now infiltrated the West, you know.
Yeah, because I was asking a question to one of the Jehovah's Witnesses who visited over the weekend, and you know, they were unsure. So yeah, what you're saying, I think, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, when I was young, they had I saw 10 Commandments. It was a big film. It was in about 3 or 4 hours. And the Israelites, when they came out of Egypt, they were following a huge column of fire, and that was indicating God, showing them the way. So he appeared in certain ways according to their ability to see. He doesn't really reveal his, you know, very intimate form only when a person's completely ready to see that. And he appeared as a burning bush to Moses, like that. But the voice was there. The voice was speaking to Moses. So like that.
And is that the same for his in like impersonal persona? If people are capable of understanding and seeing that, he'll reveal that to them.
Yeah.
But a bit personal aspect of him.
Yeah, yeah, as it says, ye yatam prabhajante. This is Bhagavad Gita 4:11. It says, if you read that purport, it explains it, Krishna will reveal, or according to our surrender. So yeah, if a person thinks God's an energy, then he can approach that energy. And it says also that Krishna will give him the intelligence to do that. If he thinks God's one of the demigods, Krishna will make his faith strong so he can approach the demigods. The idea is not to divert the practitioner from understanding of the true Supreme Lord actually is, but to help him to come closer. If we develop an attitude of subservience to a demigod, then it's quite easy to transfer that subservience to the Supreme Lord in due course, like that. So it's like an encouragement. Yeah. Okay. Mayapur Chandra. Chandra Doya, sorry. Do you want to read?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, yes, I can. In the Bhagavad Gita 4:11, The Lord says that how he treats his devotees depends on the devotee's degree of surrender. The Lord reserves the right not to reveal himself to anyone and everyone, but to show himself only to those souls who surrender unto him. Thus, for the surrendered soul, he is always within reach, whereas for the unsurrendered soul, he is far, far away and cannot be approached. Shall I carry on other paragraph, Maharaj, or this is
Just read one paragraph at a time, then we'll go round again.
all right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
I can read Maharaj now. It's working. Well, I've opened another website, so I've found it elsewhere.
Can you hear me, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I still haven't got a picture though.
I won't worry about this. I won't worry about that.
Anyway, if we look on this diagram here, we'll see these four things. He walks, but he does not walk. He's far away, but he's very near. He's without, and he's within. He's outside of everything and inside of everything. And this one, change, he doesn't change. He's eternally the Supreme Lord. And yeah, we're talking about walking now. Yeah, we talked about this. They can't understand how the Lord has spiritual legs. But, you know, so the Mayavadis, they remain in Maya, actually. Krishna keeps them covered because of their attitude. And he makes their philosophy make sense to them, even though it doesn't make sense to a devotee. They actually convinced that that's true because that's what they want to believe. So everything's dependent on our desire. I like that. Anyway, we'll just read the next paragraph and then we'll go on to the next part here. So, Raghunath Prabhu, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I got only Bengali version, Prabhu. I'm not English version. Sorry, Maharaj.
Okay. Suman, would you like to read?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Yeah, I can read. In these connections, two words are rebuilt scripture often apply to the Lord. Saguna with qualities and Nirguna without qualities are very important. The word Saguna does not imply that when the Lord appears with describable qualities, he must take on a material form and be subjected to the laws of material nature. For him, there is no difference between the material and spiritual energies because he is the source of all energies. As the controller of all energies, he cannot at any time be under their influences as we are. The material energy works according to his directions. Therefore, he can use that energy for his purpose without ever being influenced by any of the qualities of that energies. In this sense, he is nirguna, without qualities. Nor does the Lord become a formless entity at any time. For ultimately, he is the eternal form, the primeval Lord. His impersonal aspect of Brahman influences is but the glow of his personal rays, just as the sun's ray or the glow of the sun god. Hare Krishna.
So Nirguna, it seems to mean without qualities. And the Mayavadis will say, see, but actually a devotee will see that he has no material qualities, as it said in this verse. He is actually pure spirit. He doesn't have a material body when he comes to this world. He comes in his original transcendental form. Ajopisana Mayatma Ishvaram Ishvaropisana. That is 4:6 of Bhagavad Gita. And and Saguna means usually material qualities. So, you know, Krishna's Saguna, but those gunas, those qualities are spiritual, that's the point. And he's Nirguna in that he has no material qualities, so we can use it both ways. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Sandeep, would you like to read the next paragraph?
Yes, Hare Krishna Swamiji. In the Brahma Samhita 5.35, it is said that Govinda, the primeval Lord, enters everything by his plenary portion.
Oh, you've
He
got the
enters
right one. Wait a minute. Well, it's where are you reading from?
last one.
When the child says,
First before that.
So I have to read from here. Okay. Sorry, I joined late. When the child Saint Prahlada Maharaj was in the presence of his atheist father, his father asked him, "Where is your God?" When Prahlada replied that God resides everywhere, the father angrily asked whether his God was within one of the pillars of the palace, and the child said yes. At once the atheist king shattered the pillar in front of his to pieces, and the Lord instantly appeared as Narsimha, the half-man, half-lion incarnation, and killed the atheist king. Thus the Lord is within everything, and he creates everything by his different energies. Through his inconceivable powers, he can appear at any place in order to favor his sincere devotee. Lord Narsimha appears from within the pillar not by the order of the atheist king but by the wish of his devotee Prahlad. An atheist cannot order the Lord to appear, but the Lord will appear anywhere and everywhere to show mercy to his devotee. The Bhagavad Gita 4.8 similarly states that the Lord appears in order to vanquish non-believers and protect believers. Of course, the Lord has sufficient energies and agents who can vanquish atheists, but it pleases him to personally favor a devotee. Therefore, he descends as an incarnation. Actually, he descends only to favor his devotee and not for any other purpose.
Yeah, Krishna never comes to this world. Shyamasundar Krishna is always in Loka Vrindavan. His different incarnations come to perform different activities, even killing the demons. You know, Lord Nrsimhadev is an expansion of Shyamasundar Krishna. But the original form, Shyamasundar, is actually always in Vrindavan. But actually, the Supreme Lord doesn't have to do that. He just comes to please his devotees. This is what it's saying. He doesn't come to kill the demons. He's got better things to do. You know, the material energy is doing that anyway. He just comes to set a pastime. You know, and particularly in this one with Lord Nrsimhadev, that he's a protector of the devotee. If we take shelter of devotional service, then Lord Nrsimhadev will protect us. And so it's an encouragement. It's like when a spiritual master comes, everybody says, "Oh, we'll go to the temple." You know, there's many more devotees at Mangalati, many more devotees in class, like that, because, you know, they feel inspired. So that's why Krishna comes, to inspire. Okay, I think we've gone through everything now. Jack, have you got a book yet?
I have, yeah.
All right. Can you carry on from where we left off? In the Brahma Samhita 535.
Yep. In the Brahma Samhita 535, it is said that Govinda, the primeval Lord, enters everything by his plenary portion. He enters the universe as well as all the atoms of the universe. He is outside in his Virat form, and he is within everything as Antaryami. As Antaryami, he witnesses everything that is going on, and he awards us the results of our actions as karma phala. We ourselves may forget what we have done in previous lives, but because the Lord witnesses our actions, the results of our actions are always there. and we have to undergo the reactions nonetheless.
Okay, so
Right.
I think we're all aware of the law of karma.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to square one. Jai Krishna Prabhu, can you read the next paragraph?
Yeah. The fact is that there is nothing but God within and without. Everything is a manifestation of his different energies, like the heat and light emanating from a fire. And in this way, there is a oneness among his diverse energies. Although there is oneness, however, the Lord in his personal form still enjoys unlimitedly all the pleasures enjoyed minutely by the tiny part and parcel living entities.
Okay. So here we have a little diagram. It's Lord is near and far. So he's, you know, he's in the heart, Paramatma. So he's near in that way. And we can't perceive him, so it seems that he's far away. But the next one in 3, it says the surrendered soul, then Krishna actually reveals himself in the heart. So once again, Krishna reserves the right to reveal himself as and when he feels appropriate. And then far, we may say it in the spiritual world. And so, but to a surrendered devotee, you can actually, we can feel the presence of Krishna, actually, even though we may not be able to see him. You know, in a kirtan, the pleasure we feel is actually Krishna. It's Lord Chaitanya's energy. And sometimes we feel that, you know, very secure and that Krishna is very close if we're in the proper mood. So Krishna is rewarding the, you know, the mood of the devotee. And so I was listening to some lectures by Dayananda Swami, and he's pretty much preaching this sort of thing regularly to his devotees. He'll say, my dear devotees, my dear devotees. And he'll encourage them not to actually go a bit deeper into devotional service. Not just the externals, you know. We go on Sankirtan, but we may be elsewhere in the mind, or we do a service and we're not fully focusing. But he's you know, he's given the fact that, you know, if we focus, I think I mentioned this last week as well, on the service, we focus on, this is actually a service to Krishna. And then we actually feel the difference. I know when I sometimes go on, you know, Harinam Sankirtan, when we do a book table, if I'm just like, say, elsewhere due to so many thoughts, you know, it's like I might as well be shopping with everybody else. But if I'm thinking about what's actually happening here, you know, we're representing Lord Chaitanya. These people probably have never heard about Krishna in their lives before. And we have an opportunity to engage them in service just by chanting sincerely. Then, you know, it becomes a different world when we're thinking like that. And in the beginning, Krishna gives us that feeling straight away. But then it may go away. And so that means we have to actually work for it now. We have to put ourselves to be in that consciousness and not just expect it to descend upon us. This is showing that that's actually what we want. What we're aspiring to do is what we want. And so Krishna can reciprocate with that. So it takes effort. In 1855, it says, only by devotional service can I be understood as I am. So Krishna reveals himself to his devotee. But, you know, and yeah, I've spelled that wrong. Our verse regarding, does that reoccur? He appears by his own mercy to one he chooses. This is a verse in the Katha Upanishads. He says it's not by knowledge, it's not by devotional service, it's not by anything, it's just by his pleasure. If we satisfy Krishna, then he'll appear. He chooses to appear. I remember hearing one lecture by Prabhupada. He says, Krishna likes everybody, but we're just making a point. we shouldn't think Krishna doesn't like us. But he was talking, probably was talking to one devotee who was actually not acting properly at the time. He says, he said, Krishna may not like you. If you're a rascal, then he won't appear. So he was more or less telling the devotee, you know, to come to terms with his nonsense and stop it. Yeah, and we spoke about he can accept this service through different mediums. We've already done that. So we're on to this one now. He's within all the atoms and he's outside. How is he within? This is a verse from the Brahma Samhita. Ekopya sora chaitam jagadanda koti. Yat shakti asti jagadandayata anta. So he's actually, Antarasta means he's actually outside of everything, and Antarasta, and Paramanu, Chantrastam, means Paramanu is the smallest atom. He's inside the smallest atom, similar at the very same time. And yeah, that's what I'm explaining there. And this is a statement that is repeated throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. Even the seed verses are saying nothing but this. In other words, Krishna's everything. He's here before, he's inside, he's outside, he was present before, he's present after, he's present at the present time, like that. All his energies, what we see as a material energy is actually just a material energy taking a certain form. Parashya Shakti Vividaiva Shruyate. Okay. When we look at the stars at night, we can think that, you know, this is the universal form of the Lord. We can be Krishna conscious just by looking at the sky. Right, and then it talked about the deities last. So the deities are, if we want them to, Prabhupada many times says, if we see them as wood, that's what they'll be. So it's an opportunity to actually meditate on the form of the Lord and try and see him with devotion. And then it becomes a reality. I remember I was in, when I first joined the movement, it was, I started taking this guest around. I met him out on Sankirtan and he came to the temple. And so I took him in a temple room with the manna. And we stood in front of the deities, you know, for a while. And then we went out and said, I said, what do you think to the deities? He said, what deities? He didn't seem to see the deities. He just saw a load of flowers. So, you know, Krishna reveals what you want to see. So he can appear like wood, stone, metal, or he can appear like his original form. Has anybody that experienced sometimes we go through the deities and we feel some strong sense of, you know, attachment and real warm feeling and satisfaction and pleasure. And then at other times it's like nothing, you know. So we can judge by what we're feeling, what we're actually thinking. Anyway, I'm making this point over and over again, but I'll leave you to ponder on that. Okay, so we're talking about the four potencies. Any questions on that chapter? I didn't think it'd take so long, actually. You can spend so long discussing the ins and outs and going into more detail. But we've just done four potencies of the Lord. And now we're going to see how does a pure devotee see? You know, now we understand what Krishna's energies are, his potencies. How does he see? So the theme is the qualities of the Lord can be factually appreciated by a Maha Bhagavat. So we're going to talk about the different levels of devotees now, and particularly about the vision of a most advanced devotee. Okay, so Mayapur Ishwari, I think you were the next reader, is that right?
I think Jai Krishna's next.
Hey?
So if you just read, haven't you? Sorry, yeah. I've lost my screen on my phone. Do you mind if I pass this one? Sorry.
Okay, so next, it was Sita, Takarani, and Don, I think. Don't forget to unmute though.
Oh, yeah. The fact is that there is nothing but God within and
Well,
without.
I'll just recite the verse. Yastu sarvani bhutani atminya evanupashyati sarvabhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijagupsite.
He who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all entities as the parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything nor any being. This is a description of the Mahabhagavata, the great personality who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are 3 stages to realization of the Supreme Lord's presence. The Kanishta Adhikari is in the lower stage of realization. He goes to one place of worship, such as a temple, church, or mosque, according to his religious faith, and worships there according to scriptural injunctions. Such a devotee considers the Lord to be present at the place of worship and nowhere else. He cannot ascertain who is in what position in devotional service, nor can he tell who has realized the Supreme Lord. Such devotees follow the routine formulas and sometimes quarrel amongst themselves, considering one type of devotion better than another. These Kanishta Adhikaris are actually materialistic devotees who are trying to transcend the material boundaries in order to reach the spiritual plane.
Okay. So that means we're seeing everything with material eyes. We don't understand it. You know, the spiritual, we may theoretically understand, but we don't actually, we're not able to practice it at this point. And so therefore, when we see differences, material differences, it creates agitation. If we see on the platform of the soul, we see the unity like that.
Maharaj is a very similar verse in Bhagavad Gita, isn't there?
No, yeah, one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. I'm never lost to him, nor he's ever lost to me.
Yeah, that one, yeah.
Yomam Pashyati Sarvatra, yeah. Sarvam Chayam Pranashati. Tushaham Na Pranashati, Sachame Na Pranashati. I think it's 9:30. I forget which verse it actually is, actually. 6:30 maybe. Yeah. And there's one in the Bhagavatam as well that I'm in the devotees. I'm in the devotees' heart, and the devotee is always in my heart. I do not see anything but the devotee. Why? Because the devotee does not see anything but me. So it's reciprocal. So we can all be a Maha Bhagavat if we want. Who would like to be a Maha Bhagavat? Put your hands up. Okay, so we're starting from today, okay? By the next Sheffield program, we'll all be Maha Bhagavats. Jai.
Jai Hariva.
Simple process, isn't it? Okay, Sita Takarani Mataji.
Those who are attained, those who are attained, I'm sorry, I can't really see properly. Those who have attained the second stage of realization are called Madhyama Adhikaris. These devotees observe the distinctions between the 4 categories of being: 1, the Supreme Lord; 2, the devotees of the Lord; 3, the innocent, who have no knowledge of the Lord; and 4, the atheists, who have no faith in the Lord and hate those in devotional service. The Madhyama Adhikari behaves differently toward these 4 classes of person. He adores the Lord, considering him the object of love. He makes friends with those who are in devotional service. He tries to awaken the dormant love of God in the hearts of the innocent, and he avoids the atheists who deride the very name of the Lord.
Okay. That's also in Bhagavad Gita as well. Yeah, so that's a preacher, isn't it? Somebody who can see that who to approach, those who are actually innocent. We can approach those who are a little bit interested. If somebody is actually not very interested and offensive, then we won't agitate them. It's not that a devotee hates them, it's just that if he approaches them, he'll make them worse. And they'll create bigger apparods, bigger offences. So he doesn't agitate them anymore. He'll give them some prasadam if they'll take it, maybe, but that's or the holy name. And then the yeah, the innocent, and then to make friends amongst the devotees. That means we have to give up our competitive spirit. Because, you know, we've got a strong competitive. The material world means competition. Is it? We're just taught to be competitors. What's the first thing they learn you at school? You know, don't copy. What's wrong with copying when you think about it? If you can learn something from your next door neighbour, that's good, isn't it? But now it's a competition. You've got to actually do it. You've got to do it alone. You've got to get on in this world. It's a competition. And then so if we can give up the competitive spirit, we can get on together, you know. And lastly, we talked about the atheists, so or the non-devotees. Okay, who's next? Dawn. No, we're going on to Barbara now, isn't it?
Yeah. And where are we now? I've lost my place now. Oh, it says that above the mother Adhikari is the ultimate Adhikari sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee does not discriminate between the atheists and the thieves, but sees everyone as part and parcel of God. He knows that there is no essential difference between a vastly learned Brahmana and a dog in the street, because both of them are part and parcel of the Lord. Although they are encaged in different bodies on account of the different qualities of their activities in the previous lives, he sees the Brahman particle of the Supreme Lord has not misused his little independence given him by the Lord, and that the dog particle has misused his independence and is therefore being punished by the Lord's nature by being encaged in the form of a dog. Not considering the respective actions of the Brahman and the dog, the Uttama Adhikari tries to do good to both. Such a learned devotee is not misled by material bodies, but is attracted by the spiritual spark within them.
Yeah. I think that's self-explanatory. I can't say much about the Uttama Adhikari. But we can only try to understand through Shastra. Okay, next is Raghunath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Yeah.
I put it here properly, Maharaj.
Hey, what's that? Those who imitate the Uttama Adhikari, that's the beginning of the next chapter, next paragraph. I think it's the fourth paragraph.
I've got no English version, Maharaj. I'm waiting for the English version. I got.
All right. Oh, okay.
Ramesh took it away English version. I'm reading Bengali version.
Okay. So Mayapur Chandradaya.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Those who imitate an Uttama Adhikari by flaunting a sense of oneness or fellowship but who behave on the bodily platform are actually false philanthropists. The conception of universal brotherhood must be learned from an Uttamadhikari and not from a foolish person who does not properly understand the individual soul or the Supreme Lord's super soul expansion who dwells everywhere.
Okay. Yeah, there's many people who just speculate and speak nonsense. Prabhupada defeated all these arguments when he was traveling with Shyamasundar. Shyamasundar was traveling with Prabhupada in the early days, early 70s, and he was presenting all these philosophical arguments from different philosophers like Freud, Jung, not to name but a few, and Prabhupada was taking them apart one piece by piece. And then it's in a book called Dialectic Spirituality or something, is it? Dialectic. In other words, put all these arguments together in a book. Okay. So who's next? Sumanto, can you read? Oh, it's Tushar. I think it's next, isn't it?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thanks. It was clearly mentioned in the sixth mantra that one should observe or systematically see. This means that one must follow the previous acharyas, the perfect teachers. Anupashyati is the exact Sanskrit word used in this connection. Anu means to follow, and pashyati means to observe. Thus, the word anupashyati means that one should not see things as he does with the naked eye, but should follow the previous acharyas. Due to material defects, the naked eye cannot see anything properly. One cannot see properly unless one has heard from a superior source, and the highest source is the Vedic wisdom, which is spoken by the Lord himself. Vedic truths are coming in disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, and from Vyasa to many of his disciples. Formerly, there was no need to record the message of the Vedas because people in early ages were more intelligent and had sharper memories. They could follow the instructions simply by hearing once from the mouth of a bona fide spiritual master. Very well, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so we see by hearing. It's called in Bhagavatam Shrutekshita. Shruta means hearing Vedic knowledge, Shruta or Shruti. Ikshita means to see. And we have experience of that. Sometimes we can see, and our eyes actually mislead us. We don't actually see the real. And then somebody explains, you know, like, has anybody said that gestalt? Does anybody know what gestalt means? I thought Jai Krishna would know this. No?
Say again, what? Gestalt?
Yeah. It means that you look at a picture. Have you seen that picture where you've got an old woman's face?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know, and then somebody points out, well, wait a minute, that's not her nose, that's her elbow.
Yeah.
And then you can see another woman in the same picture. So that's called a gestalt. So our eyes are like that. We don't always see things properly, but, you know, somebody comes along and explains it, then we can immediately understand. So there's one verse in the Bhagavatam like that. It says, Tvam bhakti yoga parabhavita rit saroja. Ase shrutekshita. So we understand Krishna by hearing. That's a understanding of this, and we have to hear from somebody who's understood him also. Okay. So now we're on to Sumanto.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. At present, there are many commentators on the revealed scriptures, but most of them are not in the line of disciplic successions, coming from Srila Vyasadeva, who originally compiled the Vedic wisdom. The final most perfect and sublime work by Srila Vyasadeva is Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. There is also the Bhagavad Gita, which is spoken by the Lord himself and recorded by Vyasadeva. Those are the most important relative revealed scriptures, and many commentators that contradicts the principles of the Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam is unauthorized. There is complete argument among the Upanishads, Vedanta Sutra, Vedas, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, and no one should try to reach any conclusions about the Vedas without receiving instructions from the members of the Vyasadeva's disciplic successions, who believes in the personality of Godhead and his diverse energies as they are explained in Sri Isopanisad.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, next is Sandeep.
Here, according to Bhagavad Gita 1854, only who is already on liberated platform Brahma Bhuta can become an Uttam Adhikari devotee and see every living being as his own brother. This vision cannot be had of politicians who are always after some material gain. One who imitates the symptoms of an Uttamadhikari may serve another outward body for the purpose of fame or material reward, but he does not serve the spirit soul. Such an imitator can have no information of the spiritual world. The Uttamadhikari sees the spirit soul within the material body and serve him as spirit. Thus, the material aspect is automatically served.
Okay. Any questions on that? We've gone a little bit over time, but so next week we'll see a further vision of the upper Uttamadhikari. Yasmin Savani Bhutani Atmeva Bhut Vijanasaha Tatra Moha Kashoka Ekatvam Anapashataha. So thank you for joining, everybody, and I hope to see you next week, if not before.
Thank you. And thank you, Swami.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Dhyana.
Just a word for Kalpesh. I think he came in an hour late. We start at 7 o'clock. We're just finishing now, unfortunately. Okay, thank you, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.